and Robbo.
It's the most talked about TV show that's not on TV.
And I think you guys are amazing.
With raw, honest opinions.
This was not a mistake. This was a lie.
Exclusive stories.
Some industry insiders have been talking about this.
Is that a Ben, Rob and Robbo exclusive?
And plenty of famous faces.
I'm not wasting these gold moments on 60 Minutes.
The Ben, Rob and Robbo Show is the new way to stream your news.
This is the stuff that headlines are made of.
Live every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Ticker TV or Facebook and Twitter at BRR Show. Watch live or on demand.
Ben, Rob and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News, entertainment too. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there and welcome to another big edition of the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. I'm Rob McKnight. It's fabulous to have your company today. Our fabulous Ben and David Robinson are joining us once again. Hello, Ben and Robbo.
Hello there.
Hey, mate.
Good to be here.
Good to have you here. And guess what? We've got a very special guest today. Our fourth panellist is one of our favourite people of all time. She is about to be a real housewife of Melbourne, Anjali Rao. Hello.
Woo! Hello, boys. How are we?
Hello. Good
It
to
is
see
so
You get better
fabulous
looking
to have
every time
you
we
here.
see you.
And what's also great is you will be joining our election coverage on Wednesday. You are going to be, as a former CNN anchor, how do you feel about the US presidential election?
Oh my God. Well, it's certainly entertaining. And this
To
is,
say the
this
least.
is one of the things. It's like, okay, so say that Trump loses. Say he does. What are we going to have to talk about after that?
Yeah, my sister said that. My sister was saying that. It's so interesting, though, that, you know, Donald Trump having this media persona, you know, from reality television, but also being a billionaire and, you know, like just the whole thing that comes with him has such a big global interest in American politics. And it's just going to be so fascinating to see how it rolls over. You know, when Donald Trump doesn't get reelected, and I really don't think he will, but you never know. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see if the world will continue to be so tapped in without Donald Trump.
I know, and it's just the concept of, you know, listening to arguably, you know, the next potentially leader of the free world without all of those adverbs and superlatives and wild exaggerations. I've gotten quite used to them.
Well, excuse me. It's a big week of programming coming up on the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show because on Saturday we are doing a Halloween special and that will happen at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, but only via our Facebook page. So go to facebook.com/BRR Show. It will also be on YouTube and Twitter, but obviously our Facebook page is the easiest way to watch it. On Tuesday, we have no show, and that's due to the Melbourne Cup public holiday. But Wednesday, we are back, and we're giving you a lot of bang for your buck as we bring you special coverage of the US presidential election. That coverage, from our point of view, is happening from 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, so 8:30 in Queensland, and all the other various time zones are at different times. Ticker's coverage starts a bit earlier, but we will be jumping in and joining them for their ongoing coverage from 9:30 a.m. We've got Joe Hildebrand, we've got Anjali Rao, we've got Bruno Boucher, and a whole stack of others who will be joining us to bring you coverage with the difference. You know how we do it here at the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. It's always a little bit different. So, Anjali, I'm so thrilled that you are going to be part of that coverage. Thank you very much for being on that. I love the fact that you're doing it.
Oh, thank you so much for asking me. It's an absolute pleasure.
All right, it's time to move on. And look, we need to begin with some developing news out of Qatar. After 18 women, including 13 Australians, were intimately searched without their consent after a premature baby was found on a flight, the government of Qatar has expressed regret for any distress or infringement on the personal freedom of any traveller. We talked about this story the other week when it was breaking. The statement from the government included information that the Prime Minister and Minister of Interior of the state of Qatar have directed a comprehensive and transparent investigation to be taken place, with those results then shared with relevant international partners. And an apology is one thing. This is a huge incident. Should they be offered compensation for this?
You are damn right they should.
Yeah.
And honestly, what is with that government statement? Where did they learn how to apologise? Ellen DeGeneres? I mean, seriously,
Oh no, that was
it's
actually funny.
It's like, sorry you feel that way. You know, what happened to these women is absolutely unconscionable. And, you know, some, if not all of them, perhaps may never recover fully psychologically from this. But, you know, having said that, I'm not exactly surprised that Qatar didn't prostrate itself on the ground and beg for forgiveness, as they absolutely should have done, knowing their attitudes anyway towards women's rights, which are just hideous and beyond archaic.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, and it's there really does have to be more done about this. A letter, an apology is not going to do it. The Australian government needs to step up, demand compensation, as you say, and go further. I mean, you know, Australian travellers need to feel safe that when they go to a major destination point or transient point, that this kind of invasive procedure isn't going to be taking place on them.
Absolutely. And considering that it was done without, you know, any consultation with these women, apparently none of them knew what was going on. It was just, they were just, you know, hauled off the flight, 18 women, 13 of whom were Australian, and just sort of, you know, shoved into this, you know, mobile examination unit on the tarmac, having absolutely no idea what was going on, in order to find, you know, allegedly find the mother of this, you know, poor baby that was left for dead in a toilet. But they didn't even find the mother anyway. So the whole exercise was utterly pointless.
Absolutely, and a lot of women went through a very distressing situation, as you say, based on the fact they still didn't even find the mother of the fetus that had been left in the toilet. Let's move on from that sorry tale. Look, a centuries-old tree sacred to the Djab Wurrung people has been destroyed to make way for a highway in Victoria. Local Aboriginal landowners negotiated with the state government to save over 250 trees from destruction. Officials insist the tree was not on the list. That didn't stop many activists from protesting the decision. Premier Dan Andrews has defended the removal, saying that it was done in a respectful way. Critics noted the decision to remove the tree was announced the same day as the easing of lockdowns. Sissy Eileen Austin, a representative of the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria, has announced she is stepping down from the Victorian treaty process due to the felling of sacred trees. Robbo, they've managed to save 250 culturally significant trees. Don't we also have to understand that progress and highways benefit everyone? Like, they went through a process, they got some trees saved, one didn't.
What will happen if I go into Hyde Park and pull down a Captain Cook statue? Do you think everyone would be okay with that? Yeah, they would be. Sorry, they wouldn't be. This is a sacred site as is. Or the Anzac War Memorial, if I went and kind of dug a little bit out of that. This is a sacred site for these First Nations people. This is why reconciliation in this country just can't, you know, ever really move forward, because we're doing things like this. This is a very special spot, and for the equal special spot, like a church or something like that, which we would just tear it down, there would be a lot of people very upset about that. So what's good for the goose is not always good for the gander. So it's just not fair. This is disgusting.
I actually think you've got a bit of a flawed argument there. You're comparing a statue in Hyde Park that isn't a part of a broader plan for a highway compared to trees that were in a situation where development has been earmarked. Now,
it's a sacred site, Rob. Like, come on, like...
Yeah, no, that's not the argument you just made. You just said, you compared it, mate, to pulling down the Captain Cook statue, and I'm saying
which
I don't think that
changed my argument at the end and said a church. That go with a church.
Or a church.
Pulling down...
The fact is, there is a process, and I have no idea how sacred this is to our First Nations people, and I'm not one to sit here in judgment of whether this tree is more sacred than another tree. What I'm talking about is...
But then you're happy to say that the tree can be taken down for our highway.
Yeah.
Well, once again, if I can finish, I am making the point that there is a process here. 250 trees were saved. So obviously those trees that were saved were of some significance. People have the right to protest. They have the right to challenge government legislation. I don't understand the narrative here of bulldozing through a church or Captain Cook's statue, when to me the two are not comparable, because they're simply different aspects. And, you know, like, there is a difference between protesters pulling down Captain Cook's statue as part of a development process involved in the building of a highway.
You need to understand, though, that when it comes down to different cultures and different communities, they value things differently. And we're talking about those examples.
Understand, Ben. Thank you.
But look, I'm having to spell it out to you because I think that there's.
Yeah.
I think that there's.
Sorry, I'm going to be honest, and this may make me seem like I'm just being a little bit narky, but that is condescending. Do you understand when you tell me what I need to understand and that you have to spell it out to me? Differing views do not make people morons. Over the last few weeks, mate, you have called me stupid, deranged. You know, like, just because I have a different view to you does not make me these things. It does not mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. We just have different views, and that's okay.
Well, this topic has taken on a different direction, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome to the sequel of yesterday, and we are now what we call in the sequel higher death tolls.
You're right. And look, Amanda's looking at me, and I just have to accept whatever you guys throw at me. I just have to accept it. So no dramas. Go on.
Anyway, I think just to tie this particular topic off, I think that, you know, the government did try and do a lot, and I think that we do need to take that into account. They did save a lot of trees, but I just think when it comes down to the value of what people in different communities and Indigenous people, we need to understand and respect that a little bit more. We need to go a little bit deeper. That's just what I think.
I know. I still feel like there's a part of this that feels very much like a sort of, you know your place sort of issue, and I actually find it really pretty suspect that, you know, the Andrews administration decided that they would do that now when everybody is distracted by the end of lockdown. It's like, hey, everybody, look over there, it's the Goodyear blimp, because the pushback would have been so much more than this on the day.
Yep.
And also, like, I think the way in which they said we took down this tree we took down this tree respectfully, you know, like, it's just not the same thing. You can't just, I know this sounds really dramatic, but you can't say, you know, I don't want to, that's a bad example, but I mean, just saying that you're doing it respectfully just seems a little bit tone deaf to me.
Can I just be very clear on something? I am not saying that the tree should have been taken down. What my point is, there is a process. And when I hear arguments, and look, it may have been very well brought up on the same day as restrictions were eased. This is why we've made it our lead story today. But my point is, it is not the same as protesters pulling down Captain Cook. That does not mean that I need to understand something. I'm sorry, Ben, I understand the issues facing Indigenous Australians. Now, my point is, there is a process. And every Australian, black, white, any Australian has the right to use government legislation against the government, protest, and have their voice heard. That is what we are as part of a free democracy. Now, if the government then decide to continue to pull down trees that are sacred to the Indigenous Australians, they face the consequences of that at an election if these people can get the voices behind them. I do also make the point, 250 other trees were saved.
Yeah, and I get that. And look, I really don't want to be the person who, you know what, it's kind of, I hate saying this because my brother says it all the time. It's a Norris Turner phrase. And I think in my family, we have this sort of way sometimes of saying that lead in, which is, let me explain, which can be condescending. And sometimes when I watch this show back, I feel so bad. Like the other day I saw myself waving my finger at you, Rob, and I just was like, who is that? And I can't just say that it's, you know, it's a part of who I am and my family, but I will try and censor that, to be honest, because I don't see any joy to the show.
Look, it's all good, and maybe I'm being this week. Maybe I'm just a little
male PMS
sensitive. No, maybe no. Maybe I'm sensitive to it this week. The other weeks it would not bother me. But I will be honest, when I'm told that I need to be, I'm going to be honest, I went to a school where education was crap, but I have tried to, over the years since then, educate myself. And to be told that I'm not educated when I'm talking about an opinion, based on an opinion, well, you know what, as I said, it's about us all having different opinions and going from there. It doesn't mean people aren't smart or don't have the knowledge behind them.
It's those trigger words, though, Rob. It's like trigger words that, when you don't really know someone as well, you don't necessarily know what those trigger words are. And I think getting to know you a little bit better has allowed me to sort of know what to sort of navigate. And I probably is still learning. And also, I think, it took the viewers a long time as well when I started doing this show to understand that there's no malice behind what I'm saying. I actually am not going in for the kill. It's just a turn of phrase and maybe it's a little bit dramatic. Coming up later on the podcast, we have Megan from So Dramatic, and she will be allowed to be dramatic.
Well,
Nice
guys,
save.
can I just thank both of you so much, because all of a sudden it actually doesn't feel like I missed my daily dose of Dr. Phil.
I thought you were about to say it feels like I'm still on set of The Real Housewives of Melbourne.
It's worse.
No,
It's
we
worse,
would never have
Handley?
apologised to each other.
Good point. All right. New South Wales needs to open the borders to Victoria and do it now. That's the blunt message from some state and federal politicians, as well as Qantas and truckies. However, New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian has refused to say when that will happen. Here she is this morning on the Today Show.
I don't want the border there in Victoria a day longer than it needs to be. We're keeping a watching brief, and as soon as I get the health tick, of course, we'll bring down that border.
Well, businesses across the border desperate to get back to work, and with many decimated since the border was closed on July 7. Oh, how the tables have turned, Ange. Here was Gladys Berejiklian constantly having a go at Anastasia Palaszczuk and saying, well, you've got to open that border. We've got to open that border. And now Victorians are telling her to open the border, and she's not. And then there's the extra hypocrisy of Victorians saying, stop, everybody. And they were telling Victoria what to do. And now Victorians are trying to tell New South Wales what to do. Everybody wants to tell everyone what to do.
I know. What's that thing they say about people in glass houses and the throwing of the stones? It eventually all comes back.
Isn't the saying, if you listen to Carl Pilkington, people in glass houses shouldn't walk around naked? But
That's
fantastic.
but it is strange, isn't it? It's so funny seeing Gladys Berejiklian saying, oh, but my beef with Queensland not opening is different to my beef with not opening the borders to Victoria. I'm sorry, you just can't have it both ways.
I know. Imagine that, though. Politicians being hypocritical. Who'd have ever thought? I mean, but seriously, though, it's like, Stevie Wonder could see through this as being all about politics, given that Anastasia Palaszczuk is waiting until, what a coinky-dink, the day before the polls close in Queensland's election to make her decision. Seriously?
Look, I don't think there's any doubt, is there, Robbo, the borders will open on November 1.
Of course they will, because, weirdly, Queenslanders will be immune. We're going to get the first vaccines. We're making it. She's making it herself, actually, in her kitchen, and we're all going to be fine. It's just she just needs that one more day, and then coronavirus is gone. So thank you, Anastasia. I can't believe she's still going with this. This is one of those things where it's so transparent. But I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep looking ahead. If I say it long enough, people will believe that there's no ulterior motive. It's all silly. Can't we all be friends?
The polls are showing that Queenslanders are on her side, Robbo. They wanted the border to stay closed. I wanted the border to stay closed.
And we'll see on Saturday, won't we? Whether that was the right policy and whether those polls are real. We've learnt, especially here in Australia, also over in America, that polls can be very, very deceiving when it comes to certain issues. So we'll definitely find out on Saturday.
How weird. We'll be doing our Halloween special as the election results come through. We might actually be declaring the winner. Just a thought. Well, it's supposed to represent the working man and celebrate the Eureka rebellion started by gold miners in Ballarat. But some have rejected the Eureka flag, claiming that instead it represents bullying and white supremacy. The Unley Council in South Australia has rejected a submission to fly the flag on the anniversary of the fight for democracy, acknowledging that the Chinese were persecuted in these goldfields and are concerned it represents the oppression of smaller groups. Robbo, isn't this just part of history? I've never thought of the Eureka flag as a white supremacist. It's certainly not comparable to the Confederate flag in the States. Are we getting the wrong end of the stick here, or is this justified?
No, it's not justified. This is part of our history. If you continue to whitewash history, you can't learn from the mistakes that we've done in the past. This is part of our history. This bloody cancel culture, like outrage about every single thing, that means that like pretty soon everything will be cancelled. You won't be able to do anything because, a white supremacist bought an Apple MacBook once and he used that on his podcast. So, well, now we can't use that. It's just getting just so silly. Should some things be cancelled? Of course, but not all of this stuff. Like, this is history. Probably unpopular in that opinion, but I'm sticking with it.
No, I completely agree with you, actually, because it's a symbol of, the working class struggle. And I do understand that it has been misused by certain polarizing groups for their own...
As the Australian flag is.
Well, yes, absolutely. But the thing is that, it doesn't mean that its original mission or its original purpose has changed, and nor should it. And, this all comes down to... We're all talking about, cultural appropriation at the moment, and you only have to look at sort of what happened to the swastika, which was a symbol of peace and goodwill to humanity, to the Hindus and the Buddhists, among others, until, Hitler goes and nicks it for his own gain, and then it becomes something completely different. But, the Eureka flag depicts the Southern Cross, which was used for 40,000 years to guide Aboriginals across the country. So I don't understand how something like that can be racist.
What I also found interesting in the council was I think it was one councillor brought up racism, but the other councillors were, well, it represents the unions, and as a businessman, I had to take on the unions, and they were flying that flag, and I don't like that. So this is nothing to do with racism. This is to do with, business versus unions and the unionisation of the workforce, which, if some businesses still had their way, would be earning 2 cents an hour.
Well, that guy was also talking about, his own bad experiences, having been bullied, etc. It's like, so it's all about you, is it, mate?
Yeah, exactly.
It suddenly becomes very subjective. It's like, okay.
There is some importance in claiming stuff back as well, and not necessarily, understanding that's one person's story. I mean, I don't necessarily know how much this is applicable, but, people use the word poof in a really derogatory term for a very long time. And then Melbourne opened up a club to reclaim that back, Poofdoof, which is the club that everyone would go to, the most popular club. And there is some real power in derailing someone else, like something derogatory, and reclaiming it back as well, and reclaiming the importance of what it really means to you and what it really means to the majority, and not allowing someone to control that narrative like that,
All right, working from home has become commonplace during the pandemic, but it turns out women are finding it easy to adjust to than men. After a study of 2,000 people aged 18 to 75, it turns out that 50% of women find it easier than going to a workplace compared to only 35% of men. Experts have put this down to women having more experience at juggling work and life, and predict they will be more likely to continue working from home even when this pandemic is all over. Ben, you've been in lockdown. Do you prefer working from home, or would you like to get back out into the streets? And I don't mean on the street. I don't know. I think that I phrased that really badly. Sorry.
In the strict non-prostitute sense, yes, I understand what you mean. Some days when I'm working from home, I feel really grateful for the distance that we have, being that we work from our separate houses. We're not all in the same studio. I feel grateful for that.
Why are you worried that I'd come over and throttle you, are you?
Not worried. Terrified. Terrified. But I will say that I get sometimes a little bit annoyed about statistics about men and women, and whether or not women are wanting that the women overall are better workers at home or anything like that, because I've got male friends that, defy that. My partner is male, obviously, and he has thrived. He's really flourished, from his experience of being able to work at home. And I think that there are certain people, not down to sex or gender or any other story, it just suits some people over the others. And it has a lot to do with maybe my partner being more introverted. I'm extroverted, so I'm like, as people would know, and I'm like, get me out of here. I want to go and get back into the workplace and interact with people where, it's suited some people. It's suited my partner.
Oh, I've loved being at home. I love working from home. I love the fact that
Has Amanda enjoyed that as much as you have?
I think over the past 2 days, Ange, if I can be honest, I think over the past 2 days she hasn't enjoyed it so much because maybe Ben was right. Sorry? Yeah, she said it's all good.
We got the thumbs up. Okay. Hold up a sign if you're not okay, Amanda.
Free Amanda.
But I do. I love just being able to come into the garage and do the show. Like I'm 15 steps from the kitchen. Like I love working from home.
Me too. I mean, I mostly did that anyway. Well, ever since I've been in this country, I've pretty much always worked from home for the most part, unless I'm in a studio or on a stage. And I love it. You do have to have quite a bit more discipline, I think, because Big Brother's not there breathing over your shoulder, telling you to get back to it and stop playing solitaire. But also,
of all the things you can do, you're playing solitaire. That's what people do in the office.
I was like, oh my God, quick, hurry up, think of something that you're not meant to be doing on computer, Ange.
You've got a lot of free time though, Angela. I can see you've tied your lamp in a knot. I wonder if you've tied that lamp in a knot. Had you been at work?
Actually, you know what? The lamp did that to itself because it's sick and tired of having me here all the time.
I love that too. Well, look, it's time for some entertainment news. And Ben, who has celebrated their 40th birthday, and why have their fans turned?
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Thanks for that. Kim Kardashian has celebrated her 40th birthday, and one thing that she has done is turn her back on the COVID restrictions. She managed to fly friends and family to a station on an island. She's come out saying that, she made sure that she asked them to go through 2 weeks of quarantine before they were flown on a private jet plane. She said that she's obviously offered them screen testing when they got there. But as you can see from some of the images coming up, if you've got a lot of money, maybe you're exempt from, what the rest of us have to face, and that is quarantine, and that is these regulations. The fans have really turned against Kim Kardashian. Some of the comments online are outrageous. But I wanted to ask, you guys, what do you think? Do you think having money should make you exempt from COVID?
Do you know what I really dislike about you at the moment, Ben? You're going to make me defend Kim Kardashian. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What?
Hell froze over and Abby's loving it.
Look, if they, when with the money they have, they obviously have the money to make sure they go through the proper procedures. If they have obeyed all the local laws and spent extra money to be able to do that, I actually don't see a problem here. It's like Danny Minogue. I think I was a bit anti-Danny back when we first spoke about this and the way she came into Queensland and quarantined in her own house. But having thought about it...
And then you put the needle on it? Sorry.
But having thought about it, I do think that, well, what's the point of money if you can't have a little bit of luxury? So the fact is that if Danny can afford to pay to do it in her own mansion and have extra security and go through the protocols, I actually don't see a problem with it. I think I'd want to do that if I had the money.
They could at least put a mask on, though, for goodness sake. If they're out in public, then put a mask on.
Sure.
Like, you're not above everyone. I hate the Kardashians, so I don't care what they do. I can't stand them. So, but good luck. Best of luck, Kim, and the rest of them, and I hope you're well.
A quick question to Angela about this. Sorry, a quick question, which I think you might acknowledge is fans were saying that why did she feel the need to share this on social media? Yeah. Can't she just have her 40th birthday and have this exemption? Do you think that, Angela, do you think it would be better for her to have just closed the cameras off, celebrated this, was thrilled with her own privilege and not shoved it in our face?
Yes, she should have kept her big trap shut and not shared her shindig. I don't mind that,
Kim
she
Kardashian.
feels blessed and privileged. Now I can rest easy knowing that, she's loaded so she can do whatever she fancies doing. I'll be able to sleep well at night. But it's like, okay, fine, go and, spend your cash and whatever, but be respectful of people and have some dignity and, privacy. Privacy is a thing. But, I understand that poor Kimmy, she's really had a rough year. She has, with her husband losing his marbles and dealing with the extreme stress at the highly unlikely prospect of her becoming first lady. And, the cancellation of her show. I mean, what I mean is obviously her decision not to carry on with the show. Yeah. So, let the poor girl let her hair down a bit.
All I'm going to say on that is anyone who thinks Kim Kardashian isn't going to do something and post it on social media does not know Kim Kardashian. It's like Madonna said, there's no point doing anything unless it's on camera. All right, but coming up, a TV star is sentenced to 120 years in jail. Ben's going to have that story a little later in entertainment. Plus, another celebrity besides our own Anjali Rao joins the Real Housewives of Melbourne. So we're going to be getting the tea from you, Ange. And Notting Hill's Hugh Grant spills the tea on a sequel with Julia Roberts. The entertainment report is coming your way at around 10 to the hour. But for now, here's Robbo.
Robert, thank you. Let's take a look at what's happened on this day, the 28th of October, throughout history. And it was on this day, in 1954, that the Nobel Prize for Literature was awarded to Ernest Hemingway. He became a legend of American literature and continues to influence writers to this day. On the 28th, in 1971, John Lennon and Yoko Ono recorded the iconic Christmas song, Happy Xmas, War is Over, in New York City. It instantly became a Christmas classic and has been covered countless times by artists including Celine Dion, Neil Diamond and Miley Cyrus. And it was on this day in 2001 that the cult classic Donnie Darko was released with a star-studded cast of Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal. Is it Gyllen or Gyllenhaal, I think.
Gyllenhaal.
Yes. Drew Barrymore
Gyllenhaal.
and James Duval. While it was a bit of a flop at the box office, with some blaming the trailer featuring a plane crash just after the September 11 attacks, it has gone on to be considered one of the greatest indie films of all time. Never seen it, always fell asleep in it. Rob, back to you.
Thank you. I'll have to take a look myself. Thanks, Robbo. From entertainment journalist to lifestyle blogger, Megan Pistetto has made a name for herself with a podcast so juicy, it really lives up to the name, so dramatic. I can't even begin to tell you how many news sites have picked up stories from this podcast. It's just amazing. With connections and sources so reliable, network executives and producers are known to keep asking themselves, how does she get the inside scoop? But one thing is for sure, we want her here to spill the tea. Megan, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, look, it's
nice to be on the side.
Look, it's such a pleasure to have you here. You're a credible journalist, but you've really exploded on the scene as the no-nonsense, unfiltered truth teller. How did you find your niche?
It's funny, I've been doing this for a very long time. I just haven't been putting my name on the articles. So it's kind of nice to be getting some recognition for the exclusives I've been breaking for quite a few years now.
Where did the idea for the podcast come from?
The podcast was always something that, it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to do a podcast. But when Corona hit, basically, as you know, all the news outlets, their budgets went out the window. They had no money. So I was freelancing before the podcast and selling stories to quite a few outlets in the country. But when Corona hit, they stopped, having a budget for freelancers. So I still had all of these really juicy stories, but I had no one to run them. So I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just do a podcast, put it on a podcast, because magazines are dying, everything else just seems to be dying.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll change mediums. I'll just do it to kill some time before things pick up again during Corona. And I was hoping, maybe I'll have like 100 people listen if I'm lucky. And after the first episode, it just blew up overnight. It was a total fluke. I didn't expect so many people to be listening, so it was kind of scary.
Yeah, 100%. Do you know what Megan, I love you to death. I think that you're so good. Like, I'm obsessed with your podcast. This week, though, you've managed to get a few bans. Like, you've been banned on a few of those apps. Can I ask, what did you do?
The internet hates me. I'm banned everywhere. I mean, it's nice for you say that you like me because most people in media hate me. So.
Oh, believe me, I know that feeling. Don't worry. It means you're doing something right. I can absolutely understand that. But why have you been banned from social media? What's this about?
I'm shadow banned on Instagram. You can see me, so whenever I post something, it just gets no traction. And I know that sounds vain, but it is my business.
Yeah, but what's a shadow ban and why?
Well, shadow ban. Do you not know what shadow banning is? It's like...
No.
I don't think Instagram have admitted that they do it, but when an account, I think if you either get banned too many times, like reported by other people too many times, or if your page is misusing hashtags incorrectly, you'll get banned, which means only the people following me can see my posts. So I don't get any engagement in terms of like on the explore page, or when people go to the search bar and type in So Dramatic, I just don't show up. So they have to go to my personal page. It's really annoying.
But why did this happen? What have you done, Megan? Who have you pissed off?
There's so many people, I couldn't really narrow down who it could be. But the other thing, someone said to me, it might not be reporting, it might actually be misusing hashtags, because I was hashtagging super spreader and like coronavirus on all my posts about toxic masculinity and all the super spreaders on Bachelor in Paradise. I think I was flagged as a fake news site.
That'll do it.
I mean, Megan, just like, being banned on, multiple times, that is so dramatic. I absolutely love it. Do you reckon that's part of the reason why you're so successful, why the podcast has just taken off the way it has?
No, it's not helped me become successful. It's prevented me from becoming successful, because Facebook banned me as well this week. So I'm notorious across all the platforms. But I don't think it's that. I think it's just the fact, I don't know, maybe people are following for the drama. Kind of a bit.
Oh, absolutely. I'm following for the drama. And you know what? A lot of people don't have the guts to do what it is that you do. But can I ask can we bust a myth? A lot of people were saying to me when you got started with this podcast, maybe she's a begrudged wannabe batchy girl. Like, have you applied for The Bachelor and been turned down? Come on, spill the tea. Is it that you're desperate to be on the show, or have you applied and they've turned you down?
No, it's actually the complete opposite. I would never do reality TV, and I've been approached from a couple of shows a few times, and it's just honestly like my worst nightmare. I would hate to be in front of the camera. I'd hate to be, in a vulnerable position where they can I would be the villain. I'd be the worst person on TV if I went on. I have no friends left. My family would disown me. But no, I haven't done reality TV, and I wouldn't want to do it at all.
Wow, that's really encouraging, Megan, that it's your worst nightmare and that your family would disown you, because I'm about to do my very first turn at reality TV. Already started filming for The Real Housewives of Melbourne, and now I'm absolutely petrified. So thank you for that. Any advice?
Nothing about you. It's just me. I just wouldn't go well on TV. You'll be fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your words of encouragement.
Well, Megan, you are a bit of a firecracker, and your podcast is making a lot of noise. It's called So Dramatic. News websites, as I said at the top, are picking up on this thing. You must be very proud of what you're accomplishing, and you are building a huge following. Thank you so much for being on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
It's the random life shot of the day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the random life shot of the day.
Today we are taking you to the capital city of Russia. It is Moscow. And did you know that Moscow claims the largest number of billionaires in the world? Apparently 84 of them live in that city there. It is 5:40 a.m. They're just getting ready to wake up, and they'll expect a sunny top of 11 degrees after a chilly night of 3 degrees. Beautiful Russia there. All right, let's get to some feedback now here on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. Amanda says, Rob using that argument, there was nothing wrong with what Rio Tinto did, ignoring the sacred site there.
Robbo, I would say there's a little bit of a difference there in the fact that Rio Tinto had an agreement that they would not destroy that sacred site. So I do think there is a bit of a difference because Rio Tinto didn't follow due process, and what they did was absolutely outrageous.
That is, yeah, very true, very true, very true. This is from Anne. Love Angelique's lamp. Oh, yes, Anne.
It's the biggest outtake of today's show.
Janelle says, male PMS. Well said, Ben.
Oh, come on, Janelle. I've been lovely. Janelle. Oh, can I just...
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God, everyone turned.
Moving on, Nicole says, all borders should be open. All of them open. She is right there talking about the border wars that we're still experiencing. Mary says,
love you, Nicole.
For everyone else to watch this Saturday's Halloween special. Oh, is everyone going? Yes, we will be. I'll be there.
Yes, we'll all be there, but I think she's asking if the viewers are going to come. So that's 9 o'clock, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That's 8:30 in Adelaide, 8 o'clock in Queensland, and something like... What's it going to be, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in WA? Are they 2 or 3 hours behind? Good.
And we are still on air if you're worried. Yes, that's right. Cameron says, is the BRR show getting axed?
What?
Does he know something we don't know?
Although we'd be the last to know. It's always the way, isn't it? But hey, here's a secret, Cameron. No one can access. No one can stop us from streaming across the internet. That's the beauty of it. No one can stop us.
Very true. Mary, again, we love hearing Amanda crack up laughing in the background. We sure do. It is a big part of our show, and we absolutely love it, Mary. Thank you very much. And that is it for feedback here. Remember to share your feedback on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to search BRR Show. Robert.
Thank you very much. Well, we're just waiting for our good friend Bruno to get online. I have a message from him that he's coming up shortly. But for now, let's move on and get some entertainment. And Ben, there's a huge revelation for fans watching The Vow. Now, what's this?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if anyone else is watching this. I've seen a couple of episodes, but TV star Keith Raniere has been sentenced to 120 years in prison. For those who have not seen the series, it focuses on Raniere, who was convicted of crimes including racketeering, sex trafficking, false labour conspiracy, identity theft, and production and possession of child pornography. So look, these are some pretty serious crimes that he has committed. Series 2 is on the way, and today they have dropped a trailer which includes that revelation. Check this out.
This is the beginning of what is turning out to be one of the most sensational trials.
Keith Raniere is charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, sexual exploitation of children.
He used to say the best psychopaths are patient.
The scary thing is, where would he have gone if he wasn't stopped?
Everything we built, everything we created was destroyed.
It's a case that's criminalizing choices that adults are making to be happy.
And this intent was never about doing anything good for any woman.
He was very dear to me, and I know he's innocent.
It was always about doing what was good for Keith Raniere, and what Keith Raniere viewed as good for himself.
Oh, so it's a cult, Ben.
Well, look, it's a fairly hectic TV series. Angelique, have you been watching it?
I actually haven't, but I've been obsessed with this story ever since it first broke. And I hadn't heard about Keith Raniere getting sentenced to 120 years. I knew that life was on the table. It was likely he'd get life. But 120 years, oh my word. I'm absolutely going to be watching this. I can't get enough of it, honestly. It's just incredible, the stuff that this cult was able to get away with for such a long time. Under the guise of female empowerment.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. And Ben, it looks like they're still going to do a second series, which will obviously talk about this new what's just happened and today's developments. It's a huge story.
Yeah, absolutely right. It has been greenlit for a second series. They haven't continued that production as of yet, but it has been announced. They were using that, which we saw just then, as like a teaser for next year, which is a summary of the show, which people may not have seen. I will say, if you have Foxtel, check it out. It is fairly compelling. It is very confronting, though.
Okay. There's huge news for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills with Paris Hilton's mum joining the show. What can you tell? Oh, I thought it was the Real Housewives of Melbourne. That's why I said that earlier on in the show. Oh,
I was like, do you have something to tell me? I smiled. I played along.
Surprise. Yeah. Well, do you know what? This is good, though, because we can sort of get a little bit of your intake on this shocking revelation. It's been rumoured for many years, but it looks like Paris Hilton's mother, Kathy Hilton, will be joining. And she is the third sister from the Richards sisters that's joined the show. And if anyone has watched this show and they know Kim Richards and they know the OG Kyle Richards, they'll know that there's plenty of drama behind the scenes with these girls. So I don't even know how this is going to play out. Kathy will be a friend of the show, not an official titled Holding a Diamond housewife. But just to keep people up to speed on some of the drama that's happened on the show, this is Andy Cohen. And Andy Cohen asking Kyle Richards about the relationship between Kyle and Kathy. Check it out.
How is your relationship with Kathy right now?
Not great.
Are you speaking?
I saw her last night. No, honestly, not right now. And that's why I'm looking forward to her seeing American Woman, because I think she's going to look and say, I read the situation wrong, and, you know, and then we'll go from there.
When was the last time you spoke?
Maybe 6 months ago.
Wow.
I can say that it's so sad to watch, and like it's so genuine and authentic. But Angeli, you know, considering that you're a Real Housewife of Melbourne, what do you make of all of this? And my biggest question to you is, are you a super fan of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
Oh God. I wasn't, because I don't have Foxtel, but I will remedy that immediately.
You're about to be on their flagship show. Get yourself a subscription.
I know, exactly. And I want to watch The Vow. But just, you know, I live in the world, so I sort of understand, you know, who the characters are and what the dynamics are. But I actually wasn't able to hear that grab that you just played because of the feed that you have me on. I'm obviously on the, you know, the poor person's feed or whatever.
We censor you.
Sorry about that.
So I don't know
uptake
what was
is you
said.
looked
Tell
better
me what
than
was
us.
said and I'll react.
Well, look, it turns out that, you know, I mean, the relationship has mended since then, but it is very tumultuous. It was basically Kyle just confirming that she hadn't spoken to her sister for 6 months. So there had been a bit of a falling out at that time. They had reconciled and fallen out again since. So, look, it's going to be a fairly interesting 11th series of the show.
Absolutely. But, you know, that sister's, I didn't speak to my sister. Well, she didn't speak to me for the first 4 months of this year, but she loves me now. So it all meant in the end.
Oh, what happened? What happened to you? Can you tell us? Or do we have to wait for the Real Housewives?
I still don't know what happened. I have absolutely no idea. But she thinks I'm the greatest sister in the world now. I'm her only sister too.
Ben, Bruno is standing by. So quickly, tell me about Hugh Grant and Notting Hill.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. So it's been 20 years since Hugh Grant was in the very ballistic film Notting Hill, and he has revealed his idea for the sequel. Interestingly enough, he has been on the promotional trail for The Undoing, which is also on Foxtel. Rob's going to yell at me and say that I'm promoting Foxtel. But Hugh Grant had this to say about his theory behind what should happen in the sequel to Notting Hill.
I'd like to do a sequel to one of my own romantic comedies that shows what happened after those films ended. It's really to prove the terrible lie that they all were, that there was a happy ending. I'd like to do me and Julia and the hideous divorce that ensued with really expensive lawyers and children involved. I would like to do a sequel to one of my own romantic comedies that shows what happened after those films ended. It's really to prove the terrible lie that they all were, that there was a happy ending. I'd like to do me and Julia and the hideous divorce that ensued with really expensive lawyers and children involved in tug of love, and floods of tears. psychologically scarred forever. I'd love to do that film.
To be honest with you, I think that aren't we sick of seeing the same sort of style of rom-coms? Can't we sort of up the ante and have it a bit more of a dramedy, a bit of a drama comedy, and find out what it would be like to watch Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts get a divorce? I think that sounds hilarious. Rob, while you're still working on getting Bruno online, do you want us to quickly play the trailer for the reboot of Saved by the Bell?
Oh yeah, please. I think this is great, Ben. We would absolutely love to see this trailer.
Okay, check it out.
Yo, Mama. Sorry, Dr. Mama.
How do you think this year's gonna go for these new students?
I'm psyched.
You're excited for the first day of school?
Why is everybody so rich?
Are you ready for my party Saturday night?
I got DJ Khaled's Baby to make you a playlist. It's okay.
Time out. What is up with these kids?
In attendance will be the governor of California.
Max, Dad?
You look amazing and your hair's fire.
My dad's also coming.
I don't care about your dad, Spencer. I just care about Zach and Kelly.
We all want these new kids to feel welcome.
Let's see what happens.
Can we talk?
Did you just sit backwards in a chair? Wow, I've never seen anyone do that in real life.
It's not gonna work unless we get to know them.
You only know how Bayside works for kids like you.
Hot kids, privileged kids.
Privileged kids.
Bayside, it's where I finally felt like I belong. This place is magic.
Damn, I love magic.
Hey, Max, actually, I ordered cheese on mine.
Take a look in your pocket.
Does this place ever stop being weird?
A 1, 2, 3. The old gang back together again.
Will you go to dinner with me?
Stop eavesdropping.
We're not. We're the Bayside a cappella group.
Bayside.
That actually looks pretty good, Ben.
I like that. Yeah.
You know who's missing, and that is Screech. And the reason why Screech is not there is because he's a convicted criminal and has a drug problem.
And they hate him because
Sorry
he
about
released a tell-all and accused them of so many things. Awesome work, Ben. Thank you very much. It's time to bring
thank
in
you.
Bruno Boucher. Bruno, hello, sir. How are you today?
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me all right?
Yes. It's all a bit chaotic, but it's all good, Bruno.
So sorry that it was difficult to get me up. I haven't. I've never received that kind of feedback before. But I guess as I get older, it's more and more difficult. What are you going to do, eh? Oh, sorry, I forgot that that they were in the presence of a lady. I'm so sorry. My apologies.
I forgive you, Bruno, just this once.
Thank you.
So, Bruno, our
No.
time is a little bit shorter today. What have you got for us?
Okay, let me be quick. So over the weekend, I saw an article on the Daily Mail, which had like a humorous list of things that make you rich in Australia, like buying that Sirena tuna or having more than one streaming service, choosing express postage when you're online shopping. The list was kind of lame. So I thought, I'm going to put together my own little top 10 list of the top 10 signs you've made it in Australia. You ready for it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Perfect, guys. In at number 10, refueling before the empty light pops up. I mean, who are you, Andrew Twiggy Forrest? I mean, it's crazy. I have friends that do that, and I just don't understand it. Like, aren't we all just like pushing it right to the limit? It's only the rich ones that that refuel when they don't have to.
What else? What's at number 9, Bruno?
Guys, in at number 9, buying the more expensive 99-cent reusable bag.
Yes.
Right? I mean, what's going on with that? I'm a 15-cent boy, Who are you, James Packer, buying these 99-cent
Bruno,
reusable bags?
are you not taking your bags back? Are you buying new bags each time?
Oh, maybe that makes me sound rich. No, I just leave them in the car, and now my boot is full of reusable bags, which I'll throw in the bin, and they'll never be reused. Guys, in at number 8 of the top 10 signs you've made it in Australia, being with Telstra. I mean, aren't we all just like still prepaid with Vodafone or Optus? When I hear of people being with Telstra, I'm like, man, you're getting paid way too much money. That's craziness. Who are you, Kylie Minogue, with that kind of money? Guys, in at number 7, buying Bonds underwear even when they're not on sale for half price. I mean, that's just crazy.
Who does
like
that?
We all know that when Bond's underwear go on half price, that's when you buy them. Buying them full price. Who are you, Christopher Skase, with that kind of money? It's insane.
I like that reference.
Guys, number 6 of the top 10 signs you know you've made it in Australia. Owning a garage fridge. Isn't that the dream, having your very own garage fridge?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Look,
I had to...
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
I think
Queensland
it's so
has
hard to
them.
get myself a garage fridge.
McKnight has
you're
4
so
of
loaded
them.
that you have a fridge in the garage. Who are you, Alan Bond?
You know what's weird, Bruno? I got pulled out for this. We showed a wide shot of this studio, and in the back shot you could see a couple of, a fridge and freezer for everybody. It wasn't 2 fridges, it was a fridge and freezer, and everyone was like, oh, he's got fridges in the garage. Ooh.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. Big money Rob, they call him. Let's see if we can. Let's see if you tick any of the following boxes. Number 5, buying your furniture from Freedom. I mean, how much money do you have? Who are you, Gina Reinhardt? We're all doing the IKEA and Gumtree kind of places. Freedom Furniture.
I thought Freedom was a
that's the
cheap
dream,
store.
isn't it?
No.
What's that?
It's expensive.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought it was like a discount store. Oh, there you go.
Oh my God. That's so telling about Rob. Here we are at Fantastic Furniture. Rob's just like, oh, Freedom Furniture. Ugh.
Now, what's the irony here is Bruno has like 70 acres worth of property here, and I live in a little house in Queensland. But anyway.
Anyway, guys, number 4 of the top 10 signs you know you've made it in Australia, owning a bottle opener that you didn't get for free. That's a photo of my personal collection that I have. I got all 3 of those for free. But I see some people, they have a proper one, a proper bottle opener that they bought, and I'm like, oh, man, I didn't realise I was having a drink with Jerry Harvey. Guys, number 3 of the top 10 signs you know you've made it in Australia, not having to check your bank balance after using the ATM. Yeah. Oh my, what a cool move. It's nearly like in movies where someone sets fire to a car and as it explodes, they're just walking away without even having to look back. What a cool move, not having to check your bank balance. Who are you, Eddie Maguire? Guys, number 2, buying your milk and bread from the servo.
Oh yeah.
Like those are big money items, and I see people doing their whole grocery shopping at the servo, and I'm like, man, who are you, Alan Jones?
All right, Bruno.
Really shoehorning some names in here, and guys,
cutting edge names.
Number 1 of the top 10 signs you know you've made it in Australia is owning more than 1 pair of Havaianas. Like, who are you, Carl Sandilands with that kind of money?
Yes, we got a Carl reference.
I have friends that own like an around the house pair of Havaianas and a going out pair of Havaianas.
Well, that's when you're a true bogan Australian with lots of money. Hey, Bruno, thank you very much. Angeli, we will see you on Wednesday as we bring you our election coverage from 9:30. Bruno, you are an absolute legend. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week,
guys.
tomorrow
Bye.
on the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Rob.